Hey everyone, Pugs here, and it's about that time again. Time to start a new season of SpongeBob SquarePants. Today, we're beginning our deep dive into Season 10, meaning we've officially hit double digits. And speaking of double, the two episodes I'll be covering today are Whirly Brains and Mermaid Pants. Both of these episodes happen to focus on our best friend duo, something that really doesn't happen as often as you'd expect, although we did relatively recently have Goodbye Krabby Patty, so it hasn't been too long. As always, thank you all for watching the video today, and y'all's patience has been so very appreciated during my break between seasons. And now, let's just get right into it. I find it amusing that I'll be starting off with one of the two controversial episodes of Season 10, Whirly Brains. Might as well get the potentially bad out of the way first, right? Reminds me of Season 6 and how House Fancy was the first episode of its run as well. Well, I liked House Fancy, so who knows, maybe this will be a similar situation of me liking the first controversial episode of the season. Guess there's only one thing to do to find out, right? Let's dive right in. Whirly Brains begins with SpongeBob and Patrick being so incredibly bored. Wait a second, haven't we been here before? Oh right, it's because we just did this with snail mail. Well, okay, it wasn't exactly this, given that Patrick was not present during SpongeBob's scene of boredom, but it's close enough for me to be making this association immediately upon turning the episode on. And given the similarities to the opening of Snail Mail, this scene also brings to mind the opening of Toy Store of Doom. But what's neat about this comparison is that you can really see how the visual makeup of these newer seasons really elevate the boring scenes like this, because at least the animation and expressions aren't stiff like they were during the time that that episode premiered, so there's still something to catch your eye on even if the rest of the content is literally about boredom. Thankfully for all of us, this scene does not go on very long at all, and soon enough SpongeBob and Patrick are entranced by a conveniently timed commercial about turning their brains into drones. You know what? I gotta admire the creativity, because who comes up with this stuff? Mr. Lawrence, that's who. I've been making more of an effort to call out writers and storyboarders by name in my Season 15 reviews, so that may or may not trickle down to these video reviews. We'll see. Anyway, this first scene also exhibits the first problem with this episode, and that is that SpongeBob and Patrick are too dense and oblivious. Foolhardy, if you will. And you see, this is mostly caused by an, let's call it unskilled, lean into the child side of the child-adult line. Like, SpongeBob and Patrick literally pulled apart the TV because they were fighting like babies as if they could get the toy from the TV. That's just too nonsensical, even for them. At least for SpongeBob. Patrick has been at this level of obtuseness for a while now, so yeah, he'd probably do this. But SpongeBob typically is more grounded in the reality of things. Also, I could do without the yours, mine, and mine reminder, thank you very much. SpongeBob and Patrick obtain the Whirly Brain toys and start playing with them, and this goes about as well as you'd expect for people turning their brains, and eyes, into flying drones. Honestly, I'm shocked that this episode is anatomically correct enough to actually include the hindbrain and part of the spinal cord on the Whirly Brains, which is both hilarious and gives the Whirly Brains a bit of a disturbing feeling. Nothing too strong, just a tad, which is a good thing. I mean, obviously this episode is taking artistic liberties in literally every other way, but I'll take this neuroscience win. Anyway, so back to the shenanigans now. SpongeBob and Patrick flying their brain drones around is entertaining enough, not much for me to say there. I'm reminded a lot of Pranks-A-Lot here. Not sure exactly why. I guess just these sorts of shenanigans bring that episode to mind. Maybe because of the bit where SpongeBob and Patrick decide to spy on Squidward that ends with a similar gag to the famous drops by Squidward's house scene of Have You Seen the Snail? Well, okay, it's not actually that similar, but y'all know me, I make associations everywhere. I'm also reminded of Pranks-A-Lot by the fact that SpongeBob and Patrick literally pull pranks in Bikini Bottom. Which, by the way, don't think that I didn't peep that Mr. Krabs and Mrs. Puff scene here. I don't know what compelled the writers to make their relationship a secret one, but I think that choice makes these little Easter eggs we get of them so much cuter. Like, them having a date in an alleyway is so adorable. Finally, after all these years, Mrs. Puff and Mr. Krabs lovers get a win. And the episode says that they've been dating for 16 years, and we all know where that number came from. How sweet. Eventually, SpongeBob and Patrick's plan for entertainment backfires when an old loser, bootlicker, pathetic rat, cop wannabe, steals SpongeBob and Patrick's brains when they fly into his yard. Patrick in this part is hilarious, by the way. Bill Fagerbakke just knows the assignment, as per usual. The next part with SpongeBob and Patrick trying to find their brains is less entertaining, mostly because none of it really made me laugh, but that's okay. Sometimes episodes just don't get there. It happens. After a little bit of this, SpongeBob gets the idea to get Sandy involved here, which is an idea that I, for one, like very much. Because, as everyone knows, especially by now, I love me some Sandy Cheeks. And she's great in this episode. I mean, she trespasses without batting an eye, which is already some queen shit in my book, and then she squares up with the old conspiracy theorists. And I call him that because, just look at the background details here. One last note I have for this episode that I think is pretty damn important is that I love the animation and the visuals in general here. And let me just take this time to also say, disclaimer that I adore the expressiveness of the latest seasons of this show. Especially coming fresh off from season 15, I can say that I love it very, very much. And so you do not have to worry about any sort of funny face bad commentary from me, or God forbid, anything resembling the next big meme face. That commentary irritates me for at least 3 reasons, so don't be leaving it in my comment section either. Just kidding, say whatever you want down there, within reason. Anyway, what I really want to say is that the animation here is really nice. It's not super flashy like later episodes just yet, but it's still quite expressive, especially compared to so much of what has come before it. We're continuing to break out of the post-movie, pre-sequel stiffness, a transformation I expect to come to true fruition either later this season or with the beginning of season 11. And so, to bring my attention back to the episode at hand, I thought Whirly Brains was a perfectly fine episode. I'm not even sure why people don't like it that much. Taking a quick peek at the SpongeBob forum, I'm actually seeing a lot of positivity about it, but also a good chunk of negativity too, so I guess it's a divisive episode. Truthfully, most of the complaints about it are about it being too cartoony or weird, which, honestly, that just feels like a precursor to the kinds of criticisms levied against post-sequel SpongeBob that I just plainly disagree with. So, I guess that explains that. As for my personal opinion, I don't think this episode was the best. I, of course, enjoyed the wacky nature of it, but I also must say a lot of the jokes didn't land for me. It's a silly episode that didn't quite perfect the execution, but that's okay. I'm still gonna go ahead and put it in the good tier anyway, where it comes in with a score of 7.5 out of 10. Mermaid Pants is an episode that never fails to hit me right at my emotional core, and I think we all know why. I mean, come on, it's clearly a tribute to Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy and their voice actors, both of whom have now passed. And I've already made a big production about this once, so I won't do so again. But I still wanted to say my little piece on that. The episode begins with SpongeBob and Patrick playing Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, playing as them, that is, and it's so cute. I love how they're also clearly pretending to be the elderly ones too, which is good both in-universe as a nod to the fact that they personally knew the elder ones, and out-of-universe as a part of this episode's general tribute to the two characters. I also love how this episode, despite this important subject matter, does not take itself seriously one bit. We get to enjoy the hamminess, the cheesiness, and the camp of it all. I adore it. And it really feels like a return to season 1 in a way, because I feel like we were never quite so sold on SpongeBob and Patrick being Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy fans after that season. But perhaps that's just me. I also just really like how in this first section, the forces of evil that SpongeBob and Patrick face off against are just normal, everyday occurrences, like Squidward clipping his toenails. Although, to be fair to them, who the fuck does that shit out of a window? That is truly evil. The way that SpongeBob and Patrick turn their everyday life into a comic book story is really fun to watch. Like, calling Squidward Dr. Negative and all that, which, is that a James Bond reference? Like, to Dr. No? Oh, who am I kidding? It definitely is. And this mirrors the kind of real-world play that a lot of kids get up to anyway. And so this is the kind of lean towards the child side of the child-adult line that I like to see. Also, the way that Squidward has a whole little song about hating SpongeBob and Patrick is hilarious, and also relatable as someone who makes songs about the random things I'm doing every day. It's called stimming. Mermaid Pants then switches gears when SpongeBob and Squidward have to, unfortunately, go to work. SpongeBob and Patrick singing to the Line Man while at the Krusty Krab is really cute, and so well animated too. It's that animation I was talking about before. I'm loving this direction. The storyboarding also makes SpongeBob and Patrick so cute. Their singing, of course, irritates Squidward to no end, reminding me of midlife crustacean, and this causes SpongeBob and Patrick to start their playing once again. We again get lots of cheesiness and quips, and I love it. And it ends with the Krusty Krab being covered in trash. Things take a turn once again when Mr. Krabs sees what SpongeBob and Patrick have done. He surprisingly doesn't get immediately angry, and he asks Squidward to go into the office with him. I'm wondering what it is we're about to see. Like, is it going to be a delayed reaction of the born again crabs or squid on strike variety, or are we about to see something very different? Spoiler alert, it's the latter, because in a very funny twist, it turns out that Mr. Krabs is also a mega comic book geek. This is extremely unexpected, but I love this so much, actually. I guess that explains why he was seeing the movie in SpongeBob Longpants. Anyway, the last third of this episode is extremely fun. This is where I really feel like the tribute comes out to play, because having the core four enact these Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy scenes is just right on the nose. And not just that, but it's so very entertaining. Seeing Mr. Krabs really get into it is so fun, and then I love how Squidward starts taking things too far, as he tends to do. This is very in character for him, and the deliveries from everyone here are just fantastic. And I love how the episode itself makes fun of everyone with these shout cards. Mermaid Pants is a decently funny episode. It's not very laugh out loud, but it does have some good gags. I think Squidward in particular really shined here, and a lot of the humor, particularly later in the episode, comes from the episode playing up those comic book tropes and hamminess. So it's a different kind of humor than we're used to, other than in other Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy episodes. But it's not a bad different, just something other. And so I'll be putting this episode in my amazing tier, where it comes in with a score of 9 out of 10. As always, I'll be ending this video with some closing thoughts of mine. It's good to be back. Not that I was fully gone. I mean, I took this break largely to spend time on season 15, but still. I ended up taking a little longer than I originally planned, hence this review being the only one this week, but I'm glad I was able to at least get this out to get the ball rolling on these season 10 episodes. And let me just say, I enjoyed season 15 a lot. I'll either have already started posting or will be starting to post my reviews for that season on the forum very soon, so if you frequent that website, be on the lookout for that. I can't believe that unless I take more breaks, finishing season 10 is only going to take like a month and a half with my usual upload schedule. What a short season. Another thing I'm excited about is how it looks like season 10 is when I started writing like much longer reviews on the forum, at least based on the first 4 reviews I'm seeing here. That helps me out immensely when it comes to writing the script, so I am very pleased about that. I suppose it makes it harder to really differentiate the written reviews from the video ones, but listen, I need every bit of aid I can get sometimes. And besides, my written reviews are really good, so... And that's me being totally unbiased about it. Alright, I'll stop tooting my own horn. And I guess I'll go ahead and close things out here too, and so I'll see y'all in the next review.